America, get ready for a political showdown. 4 big city mayors are about to face the music in Congress. Their crime? Running sanctuary cities? Yeah, you heard that right. These mayors are going head-to-head with Congress over how to handle immigration. It's gonna be lit. On March 5, 2025, the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee is holding a special hearing. They're calling it Sanctuary Cities, examining the impact on public safety. Sounds boring, right? But trust me, this is must-see TV. We've got a star-studded lineup of mayors: Brandon Johnson from Chicago, Eric Adams from New York City, Mike Johnston from Denver, and Michelle Wu from Boston. These mayors are all Democrats, and they're all facing heat for their city's sanctuary policies. These mayors are brave, standing up for what they believe in. But let's be real, folks. This hearing is less about public safety and more about political point scoring. It's gonna be a circus. Okay, let's break down the politics behind this whole thing. Republicans, especially those in charge of the hearing, are on a mission. They want to paint sanctuary cities as dangerous dens of illegal activity. They'll tell you that these cities are full of criminals who should be deported. They'll say that mayors are putting their citizens at risk by protecting undocumented immigrants. Democrats, on the other hand, see this hearing as a big fat publicity stunt. They say Republicans are using scare tactics to score points with their base. They argue that sanctuary cities are actually safer than non-sanctuary cities. They believe that everyone deserves to feel safe in their communities, regardless of immigration status. So who's right? Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The truth is, there's no easy answer. This is a complex issue with strong opinions on both sides. But one thing's for sure, this hearing is going to be a masterclass in political theater. Our 4 mayors aren't going down without a fight. They're pulling out all the stops to get ready for this hearing. They're meeting with lawyers, advisors, and anyone else who can help them make their case. They're prepping like it's the final exam for mayor school. Mayor Johnston of Chicago is highlighting his city's proud history as a melting pot of immigrants. He's saying, hey, America was built by immigrants, remember? He's also calling on the wisdom of former Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who dealt with similar attacks. Mayor Adams of New York City is in a tough spot. He's tried to balance his support for sanctuary policies with calls for tougher immigration enforcement. He's walking a tightrope, folks. He's meeting with his legal and communications teams every day to make sure he doesn't put a foot wrong. Mayor Johnston of Denver is ready to stand his ground. He's gathering data and preparing documents that show that sanctuary cities are not the lawless havens that Republicans claim. He's even hired a legal eagle, Dana Remus, to help him navigate the legal minefield. And Mayor Wu of Boston, she's coming armed with statistics. She's ready to show that crime rates in Boston have actually gone down since it became a sanctuary city. Take that, Republicans. She's been getting advice from Reverend Stephen Lynch, so you know she's got some tricks up her sleeve. All right, people, let's get down to brass tacks. What are the main arguments for and against sanctuary cities? Republicans love to point to isolated cases of undocumented immigrants committing violent crimes. They'll tell you that these tragedies wouldn't have happened if sanctuary cities weren't protecting these criminals. They'll argue that sanctuary policies make it harder for federal law enforcement to do their jobs and keep our communities safe. Democrats counter by saying that sanctuary cities actually make our communities safer. How? They say that undocumented immigrants are more likely to report crimes and cooperate with law enforcement if they know they won't be deported. They argue that building trust between law enforcement and immigrant communities is crucial for reducing crime. And when it comes to the law, Democrats say that immigration enforcement is a federal responsibility, not a local one. They argue that forcing local police to act as immigration agents would stretch their resources thin and distract them from their primary duty, protecting and serving all members of their communities. So, there you have it. 2 sides of the same coin. It's a classic American standoff: individual rights versus national security, local control versus federal power. The relationship between the Constitution and sanctuary cities is, well, a complex one. First, it's important to understand that the Constitution doesn't explicitly mention immigration. Instead, it grants certain powers to the federal government, like regulating commerce with foreign nations and establishing a uniform rule of naturalization. But states and cities have their own powers too, often leading to a bit of a tug of war. Sanctuary cities argue that they are within their rights to limit local cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. Critics, on the other hand, claim that these policies undermine federal authority. So it's a debate that touches on fundamental questions about the balance of power in our federal system. And honestly, it's a debate that's far from settled. In the midst of the bustling city, the strain is palpable. Resources are stretched thin, and the community is feeling the pressure. Families are concerned, and local leaders are scrambling for solutions. The question remains, how much more can the city take? As federal funding cuts loom on the horizon, the uncertainty grows. Programs that many rely on are at risk, and the city's ability to support its residents hangs in the balance. The stakes are high and the clock is ticking. What will be the impact on those who need it most? The sanctuary city debate continues to rage on, with passionate voices on both sides. Supporters argue for the protection of vulnerable communities, while opponents raise concerns about safety and legality. It's a complex issue with no easy answers, and the dialogue is far from over. At its core, this is a battle for values and rights. It's about who we are as a society and what we stand for. The choices made today will shape the future for generations to come. In the end, it's not just about policy, it's about people, their lives and their dignity.